Right, Chapter 7, the cardiovascular and lymphomic system. A lot of this is going to be things that you all have heard and went over in EKG. So, right, after completion of this chapter, you'll be able to define the functions of the cardiovascular lymphomic system, identify and describe the structure and functions of the heart. Right. List pathologic conditions and common laboratory tests associated with cardiovascular and lymphomic systems. Trace the flow of blood through the cardiovascular system. Describe the different types of blood vessels and the properties of arterial blood, venous blood, and capillary blood. Identify and describe the cellular and non-cellular components of blood. Describe the differences and similarities between whole blood, serum, and plasma. Locate and name the veins most commonly used for phlebotomy procedures. Define hemostasis and describe the basic process of coagulation and fibrinolysis. All right. The cardiovascular system. The function of the cardiovascular system is to transport water, nutrients, electrolytes, hormones, enzymes, antibodies, cells, and gases to all cells. All right. Um, serves as serves as a defense. Um, it's responsible for the coagulation process. Helps control body temperature. You can see that in Figure 7.1. You see just the different labels, the different parts of the heart, how they're labeled right there. The heart is a muscular organ the size of a fist, the size of an adult man's fist. It's located left of the median of the thoracic cavity. Um, Heart has four chambers, two atria, two ventriculars separated by um, interatrial and intraventricular septum. Valves positioned between both the atrium and ventricle, so blood flows in one direction, pivoting, preventing backflow. All right, the cardiac system. One complete contraction and relaxation, or pump, or heartbeat. Many processes happen during each beat. Two circuits or pathways are significant. Right? The pulmonary circuit, blood flow from the heart to the lungs and back to the heart again. Carries blood with low oxygen away from the heart to the lungs to get oxygen and then back to the heart again. Right? Back we talked about that. I believe that was uh, maybe like the last chapter. We was talking about the the process of the heart. It's taking out that fresh oxygen in, kicking out the old oxygen and the CO2 out. Right? Schematic circuit, oxygen-rich blood flow to all regions of except the lungs. Carries blood away from the heart through the aorta to all parts of the body. Blood flow through the heart, The right atrium of the heart receives blood from two large veins. The supravena cava brings blood from the head, neck, arms, and chest. Inferior vena cava carries blood from the rest of the trunk and the legs. All right. So again, um, knowing and remembering how the blood flows whenever you are presented with a patient who is exhibiting signs of a heart attack, where they be feeling the pain in between the shoulder blades. Their right side has gone numb. Whatever the symptoms may be that they are experiencing. Again, just knowing how the blood flows will allow you to properly identify where the problem is. Right? When blood enters the right atrium, it passes through the right atrioventricular or tricuspid valve into the right ventricle. When blood exits right ventricle, it begins the pulmonary circuit to the right and left pulmonary arteries. And you see the internal anatomy of the heart and path of blood flow. Tells you what's going on the right side of the heart, what's going on the left side. Again, has everything labeled. Right, the pulmonary circuit carries deoxygenated blood. Vessels branch into smaller arterioles and capillaries with within the lungs, where gas exchange occurs. Um, Oxygen is picked up, and the carbon dioxide is released from the respiratory capillaries. Blood flows into the left and right pulmonary veins, and then into the left atrium. Blood flows through the mitral valve into left ventricle. Blood exits left ventricle, passes through the aortic similary valve and into ascending aorta to the systemic circuit. Systemic circuit carries blood to the tissues of the body. All right. See here, the right ventricles of the heart pumps the blood into the pulmonary artery. You see how the blood is flowing down. See that the first oxygen is going in. Well, the carbon dioxide is going in and is being turned into oxygen, is being pushed back out to the cells. And it's just a more some magnified view of what is happening there. Again, the oxygen coming into the blood, to the cells, turning them red. So and that carbon dioxide is being released throughout the skin, on that skin to airspace into the lungs, so that way it can be exhaled. Right? The heart's functions to pump a sufficient amount of blood to all cells of the body by contraction, which is systole, and relaxation, which is a diastole. Right? Blood pressure, the force of blood pushing against the walls of the blood vessels. Right? And that's what we're checking when you're doing your vital signs. how much blood is being pushed against the walls? Is the amount of blood being pushed against the wall sufficient? All right, and you base that off your ranges. If it's too much, it'll be um, high blood pressure. If it's too low, it'll be low blood pressure. Right? The average heartbeat is 60 to 80. The average heart beats 60 to 80 times per minute. Heart rate, which is a pulse, measured by feeling for a pulse and counting the pulse per minute. Heart rate responses designed to maintain the body's hemos, uh, the body's homeostasis. Right? Vessels in circulation, your blood vessels, um, your arteries, your veins, and capillaries. All these are considered blood vessels. Your arteries, highly oxygenated vessels that carry blood away from the heart, branch into smaller vessels called um, arterioles, and into capillaries, appear brighter red in color, are oxygen rich, have thicker elastic walls, and have a pulse. Right? Here you see your arteries as they flow and how they flow throughout the body. All right, your veins carry blood toward the heart. All veins except the pulmonary vein contains the oxygenated blood. All right, have thinner walls than the arteries. Veins in antecubital area or forearm are most commonly used for venipuncture. All right, veins appear bluish in color under the skin, have thinner walls than the arteries. Patterns differ significantly. Why they differ significantly? Once you have a general idea of how they flow, you can identify, you can map out a vein. You can map out the veins in an arm just by knowing how they flow or how they lay. All right, it's your vein system. All right, so capillary capillary connection you see right there. Um, from the atrial to from the artery and the vein, you see how right there in the middle that purple is where the gases are being exchanged. All right. It's comparison of the arteries, the veins, and the capillaries. This is what each of them look like. See, they all categorized essentially just by the wall. So when so the rule of thumb is when we're identifying a vein, we're looking for that when we place our fingers over the arm, trying to identify the vein. We're looking for something with a bounce, that hard thing that you would typically feel in someone's arm that is not a vein. That is definitely an artery. All right. Again, make sure that you know the difference. All right. It's the formation of thrombus. So it looks like when a clot or an acute when a clot is formed, plaque buildup and completely occluded vessel. All right. It's how the veins flow in the upper torso. All right. So this is what I was saying. All right. When you see the basilic vein here, it's always going to branch out just like this. All right. And this is typically where you see uh, that vein that you find like right there at the bend of the elbow. So say if you can't see that vein right there at the bend of the elbow, but you can see this, or you see this going up, this vein going up here. There you go. If you only see this vein right here, you know that it's flowing up, and right there in the bend of the elbow, it is going to branch off in two different directions. And just keeping that in mind will help you identify that vein. All right. Now, typically, like if you can't see it, that means that you would have to go a little deeper to identify it, to reach the vein. But still, you'll know once you reach the vein, because you'll get that flash in the needle. You'll see where the blood has come into the needle. All right. Yeah, you have the major arm veins, the right hand with the right hand palm up, and see here. The veins either will run on the side of the arm. You probably seen like an arm where you can't see them right there on top at the bend of the elbow, but you can see those veins right there on the side of the arm, to, predominantly in the forearm region, and they still follow the same layout. This is what the arm looks like with upright, and the vein runs directly to the through the bend of the elbow. All right. All right. So again, you got your basilic right here. It's gonna come down, and you know it's gonna meet up right there at the bend of the elbow. Okay. All right. Same thing on this side. All right. You see, like it's running right, what it seems like right under the arm, right there on the uh parallel to the bicep. Again, you know it's going to meet up in the middle, right there. All right. So I want you guys to practice on your own arms, identifying how your veins run. Again, just to get familiar with the layout of the veins of your own vein pattern. All right. The anterior and posterior veins of the right leg. All right. Capillaries, microscopic vessels linking arterioles and venules, may be so small in diameter as to allow only one blood cell to pass through at a time. Right? Gas exchange, fluids, and other molecules between blood and tissue. It's still happening, but just at a slower pace. Right? The arterial blood is bright red, quick spurts, harder to control bleeding. All right. All right. Venous blood, venous blood, it's a darker red, steady flow, stop bleeding with gentle pressure. That's why when performing venipuncture, so you can just place that cotton ball on it, instruct the patient to apply pressure, have them elevate the arm above the heart, and it'll stop very fairly quick. All right. Capillary blood, slow and even, stop easily with slight pressure. We typically do capillaries on the fingers and applying just a little bit of pressure, and it'll stop. All right. Uh, that's what the different types of blood look like. All right. So this is about the amount of blood that you have per volume in um in your body. All right. 9-pound newborn, its blood volume is equal to less than a 12-ounce can. A 60-pound child blood volume is equivalent to a 2-liter soft drink, and adult 125 pounds, it's about 2 liters. Blood amount is equivalent to 2 liters to two liters of soda. All right. Blood. The human body contains 5 quarts, just 4.73 liters of whole blood. All right. Now, I don't want y'all to be thrown off about what was on in Figure 715. All right. So about average for a person that's 125 pounds, they're going to have about 2 liters. All right. So anything over that, naturally you would have more blood. All right. It's composed of water, um, solutes, dissolved substances, and cells. Blood specimens will coagulate, clot immediately when removed from the body. All right. It's the basic composition and functions of blood. You see, the blood is after it's drawn. You see it's in a tube. Goes in a centrifuge. Centrifuge is going to separate the red blood cells from the serum or plasma. That's it, and that's what it will look like. Right. Here you see uncentrifuged blood. Just have see just your blood in this tube, and then in this tube, pretty sure you all have seen like that gel substance at the bottom of the tubes. That's what you see here. Um, And once that blood that's in just a regular tube is put in the centrifuge, this is what you get. You'll get your plasma on top, your white blood cells in the middle, and your red blood cells at the bottom. Once once you put the blood in a tube with the gel separator, you'll see that the serum is on top, that gel substance is in the middle, and all the red blood cells have been compacted at the bottom of the tube. All right, plasma. It's a liquid portion of blood and lymphoid, composed of water, solutes, and protein. Cellular portion, WBCs, platelets, and RBCs. All right, it's a thin fluid plasma, is straw colored. In conjunction with electrolytes, proteins help buffer the blood, buffering the body's ability to control the pH of the blood. All right, so um, acid base levels we talked about in the other chapters. We talking about how we want to the levels we want our body. If if things are too alkaline, be more considered, or if not alkaline enough, then your levels will be too acidic. This is again just a chart of what we would like for our levels to read at. All right, serum. If a blood specimen is allowed to clot, the resulting liquid portion is serum plus blood cells meshed in the fibrin clot. Some chemical constitutions of plasma, except clotting factor and blood cells, are contained in fibrin clot. Right. Your erythrocytes, red blood cells or RBCs, binoncave disc shape, flexible shape allows passage through narrow capillaries and provide maximum surface area for oxygen and CO2 exchange. Lifespan is approximately 120 days in circulating blood. All right. So simply what that means is that your RBCs will die after 120 days. All right. Failure of bone marrow to function properly may result in anemia, a deficiency in RBCs or hemoglobin, body not making enough RBCs, bleeding causes too much blood loss, destruction of RBCs occurs. All right. Within the African American community, um, African American females suffer from anemia more, um, and that's just solely, well, not solely, a great deal that depends on their diet. Eating ice is by far the worst thing that you can do, and that eating that ice is controlling, it's bringing the body temperature down, and when the body is cold, it slows down production in the body. So naturally, if your body is already having a hard enough time producing RBCs, working at a slower pace is just going to make it worse. You're going to be find themselves more sicker. Um, that time of the month is going to be a lot more critical for them because they are losing a lot of blood. Um, and again, it's something simple that can be eradicated with slight adjustments in the diet. Um, eating things high, um, like liver, for instance. Like those things will raise your your red blood cell count, um, and ultimately help turn those problems around. And no matter how much you preach to them, no one is going to give up the ice. But the question I always ask is what's your life worth to you? Is your life, do you value a cup of Sonic ice more than you value your health? All right, the ABO blood group system of four blood types. You have A, B, AB, or O. The O is the most commonly typed, followed by A, B, and AB. Differences in blood types due to presence or absence of protein molecules called antigens and antibodies. Right? Type AB blood is a universal donor of plasma and universal recipients of cells. Right? So those with AB bloods, they do they can do a great service for a lot of people because a lot of people um, can benefit from their blood and plasma. Type O is universal donor of RBCs only. I am a I am type O, so my blood can do can do a lot of people can benefit from my blood. HR positive individuals have antigen for Rh factor on their red blood cells, and Rh negative people do not. I'm just so happen to be O positive. All right, this is what the different blood types look like. Okay, you see A have the plasma antibodies that will react with foreign surface antigens. Um, B, the cross reaction and compatible antibodies that encounter their target antigens and lead to uh, elongation and hemolysis of the affected RBCs. If this happens in the body, it leads to a transfusion reaction. Transfusion reactions can be life-threatening or not often preventable. Uh, Blood transfusions. For blood transfusions to be successful, both ABO and RH blood groups of donor and recipient must be compatible. All right. Accompanied by cross matching donors and recipients' blood for compatibility. All right. And we spoke about in previous chapters about genetics. The Just because you are related to someone doesn't necessarily mean that you would be a probable donor for them in the event that they need a blood transfusion. Um, those things to be mindful of. Um, like one and to prevent that, what is becoming more and more of a thing in the event that a patient has to have surgery and they are at risk for losing a lot of blood or may need a blood transfusion. What they will do is that they will donate their own blood so that they know that they have blood available to them, because sometimes things happen. Even if the blood is a direct match, if it can be your type A, AB person, and you get AB blood, it may not be compatible with your body. All right. Again, everything in your body is a defense mechanism. So with this new blood coming in, it poses, your body sees it as a threat, and it will start to kill those red blood cells. There's a condition um, where that happens with women, and they're prone to having a great deal of miscarriages because their body begins to attack the fetus, right? And again, because you were born from your mother, you and your mother may not have the same blood type. So again, because we're combining DNA to make a new life, there's a strong possibility that you can end up with your father's blood type, or however your genetics so happen to fall, maybe a grandparent or someone else in your family. So, and if it's not the blood type that matches with that being produced by the mother, then the body again said, well, begin attacking the fetus. That's why it's important to like donate blood and donate plasma. All right, can be life-saving procedures if patient or donor is misidentified. Serious complications may result: wrong transfusion, hemolysis, um, agglutination, organ damage, death, and these things that we just talked about. See that in table 7.3. All right. All right, so your leukocytes or WBCs, two groups differ in color, size, shape, and nuclear formation. Granular or agranular, the part of the body's defense mechanism. Right. The cells phagocytize uh, pathogenic organisms. It's formed in the blood marrow, lymphoid tissue. You have neutrophils, basophils, eosinophils, lymphocytes, and monocytes. You see here, it's what each one of those looks like, what their purpose is. Thrombocytes or platelets, smaller than other blood cells, help in the clotting process by forming a temporary patch or plug to slow blood loss and contracting after the blood clot has formed. Lifespan 9 to 12 days. Essentially, what this is that scab that forms over over a cut, scrape, or whatever, or what have you, to prevent you from to stop the bleeding. I remember um, I was in grade school, and I remember I was in one of my, probably like my first biology class, and I remember asking my teacher, because I didn't fully understand at the moment, looking at like the blood cells, like they appear to be like pretty big, wasn't, and I didn't understand that the pictures were magnified. And I remember asking a question like, well, if the blood cells are that big, then how is it possible that you still bleed? Because I feel as though the blood cells should like stop the blood from coming out like your body. She never answered my question. She just kept right on reading. And it was at that moment that I knew that if I wanted to learn anything, I was going to have to do it myself. I couldn't depend on people. All right, homeostasis, the complex process that allows the body to control bleeding while still maintaining circulating blood in a liquid state, enables the body to retain blood and in the vascular system by preventing blood loss. Phases in the clotting response: vascular, um, vasoconstriction, platelet phase, coagulation phase, release of clotting factors to form clot retraction, um, fibrinolysis, vessel is repaired, clot begins to dissolve. And that's what that process looks like. That's what it looks like on the outside, like on the skin. You see right there, the that would be the scab forming. I said, and typically it will last for um, what is that 9 to 12 days. You should never pick your scabs. Um, yeah, scabs are again, it's one of the functions of the body. Once it's all, once it everything is healed, the scab will fall off by itself. Right? That's to let you know that hey, we took care of this issue for you, and you're all good to go. Um, and they leave you with a calling card. That calling card is the scar that remains behind, um, reminding you of what happened, what your body took care of everything. Um, and again, why you shouldn't pick the scab. It's like your body prefers to work in private. So having that scab is like they're doing all the work behind the scenes. They don't want you to see what's going on. So that's why you shouldn't pick your scabs. Just leave it alone. Trust your body to do its thing. And when it's all said and done, the scab will fall off. All right. Phases in the clotting response. All coagulation factors required for intrinsic system contained in the blood. Extrinsic factors stimulated when tissue damage occurs. All right. Medication and bleeding. Some medications, such as aspirin, may be recommended for patient as blood thinner to reduce um, risk of forming clots. Here, to see, I can't say that I've seen it as of late, but when someone is at risk for a stroke or heart attack, they're typically prescribed to pres, prescribed or recommended they take an aspirin a day to keep the blood thin, um, so there is no buildup causing a stroke or a heart attack. I know that people will typically drink a lot of water and take aspirins prior to donating blood or plasma. That makes the process go a lot quicker because the blood is thinner and it will flow faster. Right? Um, and you know that works based off the different types of blood that we discussed early on. Right, disorders of the cardiovascular system, hemostatic process, the heart, congestive heart failure, AF or AFib, um, core pulmonary valve problems, vessel problems, atherosclerosis, MI, cerebrovascular vascular accident, CVA, or stroke, ischemia, yeah, aneurysm, or hemorrhage, like polycythemia, anemias, septicemia, leukemia, leukocytosis, leukopenia, hemostasis problems, um, DVT, hemophilia, embolus, thrombotic pneumonia, thrombus, disseminated intravascular coagulation. See table 7.7. All right. A, you see hematoma. Um, B, as a vein hemorrhage. C, you see sickle cell. Um, uh, the round disc shape. This is what your blood cells should look like on a regular, but if they appear in this form here, and that is what is known as sickle cell, and that prevents your blood from um, flowing properly. When your blood can't flow properly, you're not getting the proper electrolytes, things your body can't process things the way it's supposed to, not getting fresh oxygen in, things of that nature. And this is a sickle cell anemia is also another disease that plagues the African American community. It only plagues the African American community. Um, and you see in D, is what sickle cell looks like under the microscope. Right. Common hematology, coagulation, and immunohematology blood tests. RBCs number, morphology, hemoglobin content, morphology and number of platelets and WBCs. A coagulation laboratory. Platelet function and coagulation factors. Um, immunohematology, blood banking laboratory. Blood types and cross matching. Um, clinical chemistry laboratory, serum and plasma constituents, a lymphomic system, lymphocytes, lymphovessels, lymph nodes, tonsils, spleen, bone marrow, uh, Fountain's gland. Mhm. See, that's what they're all labeled there for you in Figure 729. Um, closely interrelated connection with the cardiovascular system, maintains fluid balance in tissue and by filtration, um, defense and immunity against diseases, distributes nutrients and hormones into bloodstream, removes waste and absorbs fats and other substances. Right? All this is taking place in your lymphomic system, and that's why I want to make sure that everything is working properly. Approximately 30 liters of lymphoid fluid passes from blood to tissue space each day. If more than 3 liters retain in blood tissue instead of bloodstream, edema, swelling would result. Right? Hematologic malignancies, immune disorders, infectious process. You see chronic lymphedema and A, lymphoma, and B, and T cell lymphoma, and C. Laboratory tests associated with the lymphoma system, blood samples, blood marrow, lymph nodes are often surgically removed or aspirated so that the cells can be analyzed or cultures performed. Analysis of markers on the surfaces of the cellular material. You see that in table 7-8.